So obviously, I don't know whether you've come to listen to the climate presentation or AI, so I feel very flattered. We have a full room today, so thank you if you've actually come to listen to me. Usually when the session changes, I end up with just a few people, and I thought I'm just going to have maybe 10 people attending, and we're just going to have a strategy meeting. Like, how do we bring more diversity into AI? But I'm super happy. It's a full house, so if you're here for the right session, great. And if you've come for the climate, then I'm here to disappoint you, although I have a lot of things to say about climate. Today, I'm going to be talking about diversity in AI. So my name is Elena Sinel. I'm the founder of Teens in AI. I'm an AI ethicist. I'm not a technologist, so I'm not going to be talking about maths and stats. I'm going to be talking about what matters to us, to the society at large. And so for me, this topic of the conversation, I think, started when I was a teenager myself. In fact, this is like one story I can only bring from my connection to Netherlands, is when I was 14, some journalist from Netherlands, whose name I will not remember, interviewed me at the age of 14 about women's rights in Uzbekistan, the country I'm from originally. And I remember the next day, some police was knocking on our door, and my mom was told, "Did you know your daughter was talking about women's rights in Uzbekistan? Just tell her not to talk about it again." and I had to write to that journalist. I remember it was like hotmail.com at that time, and tell him, "Please, can you not send that magazine to my home address, because something bad might happen to me afterwards," because I had no idea that in Uzbekistan in that time you had no right to talk about women's rights. So that's my little backstory, my connection to Netherlands. So where we are today, and that's what I would love to start the conversation, is so diversity in AI as we know it. Feel free to take a screenshot. My team worked really hard to put all this data together, so they will be really flattered if all of this comes out on Twitter. I think maybe right now there is even less of us women in AI roles globally. I think the percentage is actually 22%, which is really shocking, isn't it, for us women? Yeah. So there is less than 20% of AI professors and teachers who are female, who are women. And of course, obviously this is another little bit unrelated to AI, you might think, but it actually very much is related, that we only have 10% of the Fortune 500 company CEOs as women. And of course, when it comes to diversity, this is where it goes, sort of between 2 to 4, sometimes 5% of representation, which is ethnic representation of communities, Black communities, Latinx community, and whatnot. So it doesn't look great, does it? And what does it mean for the technologies that we are building? It means we are replicating bias, we're replicating discrimination, we're replicating and perpetuating historical inequalities by building technologies that are not for everyone and not with everyone in mind. So that's where I want to start. And of course, for me personally, only 1 in 4 of female students in the UK and also globally are taking STEM subjects. And that to me is like a big cry moment, because I have a daughter who is 22, who is at IBM, who is the only one in her data team. And that makes my heart bleed, and it hurts me a little bit, because I was kind of trying to convert her for about, well, I've been doing this for 10 years now. So for 10 years, I've been converting my daughter since she was 12 or 13. Into AI, and it happened, and I was super happy. And then every time she comes home, she says, "Mommy, I developed this code by myself." But there was this guy in our office who said, "Oh, Victoria, did you actually build it by yourself?" You know? So, and it happens every week to an extent where she comes and cries and says, "Mommy, maybe I should leave IBM." And that's IBM for you. So, yeah, so it's kind of really shocking, and obviously I'm on this long-term life mission. So this is my 24/7, by the way, so I don't work. I am a Microsoft R&D, but let's not think about that and worry about that. And I'm obviously, part of advisory boards of all sorts, and Computer Weekly top 50 women in tech and whatnot. But my baby is this: I want in 5-10 years' time for you, all of you, to hire from a more diverse pool of talent. This is my life mission. I don't think I'm going to get a Nobel Prize for that, but if at some point world peace happens because people can talk and collaborate and work together across boundaries, which is what we're doing at Teens in AI, that would be my dream come true. And I'm not really looking for any awards for that, but it's something to be remembered for one day. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because we keep kind of finding all of these really stupid mistakes still. This is 2023, 2024. And what was shocking to me is that ChatGPT provided biased medical advice, and that is because the training data set that they used was based on Western data set. And so I kind of remember reading about this like back in 2015, 2016, IBM, if anyone remembers that, raise your hand. And a lot of other mistakes have happened, but this is now already 2023, 2024, and this happens again. So that kind of worries me because I'm still thinking, wow, you put in the word terrorist into an LLM and it brings you those images. These are the only type of terrorists we see. And of course, for me, this again screams, hey, biased data set, hey, teams that are not diverse. So for me, an AI system must be trained on diverse representative data. When it's not, mistakes happen, and they still happen to date. So when it comes to Microsoft, hello, Microsoft Copilot. Anyone from here from Microsoft? I'm sorry I talk about you guys a lot to my teenagers because they need to be aware of this. So in the past, I used to talk about Tay's chatbot. If anyone remembers Tay chatbot case study. But now, 2024, what happens? Even a Microsoft machine learning engineer says, hey, I put in a simple prompt, car accident. Look what happens. We're objectifying women. We're perpetuating, replicating the biases that we kind of have in societies. Who's building this, by the way? Maybe a team of white men who maybe indulge themselves into things like that. I don't know. I really don't know. But Microsoft Copilot is used sometimes in schools. And I would hate for my 11-year-old son to put in car accident because he's writing a creative story, a fantasy story, and come up with that. That I would hate. So just now I was on a podcast in booth 26, go check them out, and they asked me, Elena, Microsoft Copilot as a teacher or teacher teaching? And I'm like, ask me again in 5-10 years and we'll check again the Microsoft Copilot. But at the moment when you do this, then this comes out and I'm like, no, I don't want this in education. I don't want teachers using this yet. Okay, so to me, diverse teams and ethical considerations, like every team that has got AI that you guys are building or using or building on top of, and I don't really care how, but ethics has got to be at the very center, at the very heart of whatever you're building and whatever you do. So make sure if you are building something, you have teams that are included and diverse teams so that we don't end up again with an Apple Watch without any period tracker. I remember that happened a while ago as well. And this, of course, was one of the latest ones, and I didn't put in another photograph of Nazi people of color in Nazi uniform, but this happened very recently. Of course, they had to pull this down because everyone that was putting in prompts were coming up with very non-factual and historically inaccurate images, shall we put it this way. And again, to me, this really does bring back that importance of how do we make sure this doesn't happen, because the diverse team would have surely called it out. But to me, if the technology is not safe and if it puts any person or any community at risk, do not release it. This is to me as simple as. So I don't know where you are in terms of innovation regulation. To me, it has to be regulation first, and innovation, by all means, innovate, but don't put anyone at risk. So get that right, please, first and foremost. All right, so again, kind of to summarize, because I know I don't have much time, and I definitely would love to have some questions from you guys. So teams, build them obviously bring in diversity into teams to ensure that we prevent those harmful stereotypes and biases creeping in all over again. So I've been doing these talks for 10 years now, and it's funny, 10 years ago I'm talking about diversity and I'm bringing in the Google Captions case study, if you remember, when you put in gorilla and the black woman comes up, so the classical case study, and I'm talking about Microsoft Tay, and today, I'm still talking about this, and I'm tired of talking about this. And that is because we're not doing enough to build something that is actually with responsibility in mind. So I wanted to kind of give you a few examples. of what I'm following very closely, and I hope you are following as well, because there are some amazing people in the civil society who are actually pushing the government and the policies and regulation. So we as AI ethicists care about facial recognition systems that do not recognize everyone or detect women or detect darker skin tones. So one of the movements I'm following, Algorithmic Justice League, is very much at the forefront to ensure that we don't have biases when it comes to criminal justice, when it comes to hiring. In London, where I'm based, we have CCTV cameras pretty much everywhere. So they're filming, they're trying to understand our emotion. And I always wonder, why does anyone want to understand whether I'm hungry, angry, happy or whatnot? Is it because they want to sell something at me back? So, there is a reason why all these systems exist. I want to understand why they're built and how they could potentially infringe my rights as a human. Okay, and if it does, then I don't want to have anything to do with this. But it happens all the time. There are people out there who are obviously pushing the governments to be more transparent and to really stop building stuff or buying into stuff. UK government is buying facial recognition systems and surveillance systems from China, who are using the same systems for the detriment of the population of Uyghurs in China. That I'm sure you also heard about in the news or may not have. Another really interesting one, and I know Mozilla were somewhere in the program over the next couple of days, or today, yesterday, is they're building a really cool system called Common Voice, and they're training technology in various accents and languages. This is, again, a really interesting project for me because, again, this is a problem that we are going to be experiencing more and more, that we do not have technology that recognizes diversity in voices, diversity in accents, languages, and whatnot. At Teens and AI, we are building courses, and we're having to build courses in multiple languages so that we don't just build for those who speak English. So we're building courses in French, in German, in Spanish, at least to cover a few languages so that kids in Spain don't have to learn in English, because Python is all English-based, right? And of course, us, Teens and AI, if you are not following our work yet, please do, because hopefully there will be a program happening in your community, in your city, and if there is an opportunity for you to bring us into your community, please let us know. These days, I don't do it by myself. I have a team of 150 volunteers around the world who we train to make sure that they run programs safe enough for kids to participate and learn about AI ethics. So everything I've spoken to you about, we actually teach kids so that when they grow up, they become more responsible than we are and they leave the place in a better place, in a better state. So we are sitting at 15,000 young people since 2018. Our programs attract 58% of female attenders, 58 to 60%. So I think we're doing better than most teams here in tech, so I'm super happy. And of course, we're in more than 60 countries around the world right now. So we have kids in Fiji, we have kids in Brunei, we have kids in many parts of Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Mozambique, you name it. I think we have a teenager pretty much in most of the continents and countries covered. And they are the ones who will be building technology. And because we are now doing this for 10 years, we have kids who are leaving university, joining the industry. And hopefully they're the teens who will also say, hey, I'm not happy with what you're building the system for, so I'm going to walk out. So for me, this is not just about the systems, it's about responsibility that we put on our young people and the society. So I know maybe you have seen or maybe you haven't seen very recent D&I cuts. That concerns me quite a lot because we're nowhere near to cut them yet. So if you are in a company that is big enough to have those massive D&I budgets, for the community, please carry on, look around yourselves. Who have you got around you who is doing work in community development, diversity and inclusion and equity? So call this out because your companies should be supporting initiatives like the ones that I have shown. And there will be a community in your city, in the country, that is aimed at bringing more girls into coding, bringing more girls into robotics, into AI. Please support them because it is very important because us people, we work on this 24/7. This is not just a side project. This is not just a side gig for us. It's our life mission. And everyone on this mission is doing an amazing job. So on this note, I'm going to thank you for your attention. And I would welcome any questions or any comments you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena, Sinel, for focusing also on the future.